A question we get asked is, how many people do I need in my finance team? And naturally that depends on the size of your business. So let's look at our core goal with our finance team always. The core goal of the finance team is accurate, timely information to help us make better business decisions and inform business decisions. So that's our overarching goal, and it doesn't matter if I employ 100 people or one person, that's the objective we're looking to achieve. So let's take that one step further. Within your business, it revolves around two factors: the complexity of what you do and the complexity of transactions or the complexity of structure, and also the volume of it, which then leads to the two core elements of your finance team. What is its competency and what is its capacity? So the competency is how much competency you need to deal with the complexity, and then with your capacity will depend on how much volume there is, because you could have a business that turns over $10 million doing building is going to need a heck of a lot less people than a business that sells pens and paper on $10 million. The volume of transactions is going to be significantly greater, even though the revenue is the exact same number. Taking that one step further, my goal with a finance team is to minimize cost and maximize education. So let's work through that element. Now, if you look at a transactional level, this is where the rubber meets the road for the finance team. People often get excited by the reporting, the analysis, the KPIs, but you can't do any of that, what I call fun stuff, until you've got your data entry completed and data entry done accurately. So let's break down the core elements. You've got accounts receivable, which is making sure all the sales are entered into your system. You've got accounts payable, which is making sure all the supply invoices are entered into the system. You've got payroll, so making sure all the wages and associated information is entered, like pay-as-you-go, superannuation or pension payments, depending on where you are in the world. All those elements are accounted for. And then fourth, your bank is reconciled. So making sure all the cash transactions have been accounted for appropriately. So you've entered your sales, you've entered your purchases, you've done your payroll, and you've reconciled your bank. There isn't really much more to it from a transactional perspective. And those are all very, very learnable skills. So hence that goal we said before is you want to minimize the cost of your finance team by educating them as much as possible. So we train them up to get as many transactions done internally, rather than having to get them done by an accountant, a CFO, or an external party, which is going to cost you a lot more money than the information if it was done by someone in your finance team at a more entry-level investment cost. The core starting point for us is making sure all those four elements are done in a very consistent, accurate, and timely manner. Then what we want to do, again, to reduce the cost of your finance team, is to educate the management and the business owners of the team. The finance team is doing the reports, doing the transactions. It's then on you to understand that. And I believe that's a very learnable skill. With financial information, the principles for today are the same principles as 20, 30, 50 years ago. The only thing that's different is the technology that brings that information together. But the understanding of that financial reporting won't change, or what we like to refer to as evergreen. If you know it now, you have that for the rest of your business journey. I fundamentally believe as a business owner, you have a responsibility to understand your finances. And so many businesses are small enough that they don't necessarily need a full-time CFO or a CFO internally. If they can understand the processes themselves of what needs to be done, and the business owners and the management team understand how to decipher that information and then take action with that information, that's a very powerful recipe for business success. So if, let's say you've got one person in your finance team and they're hitting your deadlines in terms of accuracy and timeliness of financial information. But as your business grows, you as a business leader go, hey, I'm expecting my financial reporting by the 5th working day of the month. And all of a sudden the person in the finance team isn't quite hitting that target. And it's not because they've become a slacker or all of a sudden lost the skill or the will to do what they do, it's actually the right time to add people to your finance department. So if you've got good systems and structures and accountabilities in place in terms of finance team KPIs, you will find it a lot easier to understand when to add people to your finance team, because for a business owner, it can be a bit of a dark art or a grey area, because quite often it's not your first area of competency, and also not your first area of excitement for where you want to go as a business owner. So you need to make sure that you're getting the most out of those people, so that when you're adding new people, it's on the back of capacity being exhausted, not necessarily laziness in that department. But the key element is going, what is the benchmark I'm setting? So if you look at our fundamental process of going, we want to have financial reports completed by this date, and you trust the person in terms of what they do in that role and their competency in that role, and they're finding it a real struggle, you know that it's become a capacity issue and you need to add people to your team to achieve those goals. So making sure you've got that capacity there, the competency there through training and getting the information you need as a business owner.